Wow, we are continuing, you know what I mean? Get that part one. Nice little intro. Love to Sophia Harris for dropping this great drop on us. We're going to jump right in it, man. You know, this is the sermon on the capture of Lord Cornwallis, you know what I'm saying, by an African American. It said, who's this African American? You know, get that part one, you know what I'm saying? He goes into, you know, not knowing who these people are, who this person actually is, who this person could actually be. You know, here we go. You got some of this last time.
The Portuguese called their slaves Negroes, the Portuguese word for black. When African slaves were recently by Fred Shapiro, an associate director at the Yale Law School Library, who discovered an advertisement in the Pennsylvania Journal on May 15, 1782, announcing the sale of printed copies of two sermons written by the African American. One on the capture of Lord Cornwallis.
So it's written by the African American or an African American or someone who's referring to themselves. And this is what they're trying to use to substantiate calling you so-called Negro, copper color races found here, African. To take your inheritance, to take you off this land, to put you in a whole nother space and time, a whole nother connection. When you've been right here since before the earth was even separated in the days of Pele. Those Mississippi mounds and Louisiana mounds and those people in Mississippi and Louisiana and you so-called Negro have been here before the earth was even divided. This land was connected to Lemuria, sandwiched in between Lemuria and Atlantis. And there's been a fight for it. And now they want to call you African American. Well, I guess this is northwest of Mexim, right? According to the Morocco, Mauritania map, their Atlantean map. But which invasion came first? What, Joshua was invading them? Hawashua? Or did Poseidon already invade? Did the Canaanite invasion already occur? And was Joshua restoring order in your promised land, dividing you into your tribes and giving you your lots? But not all of lots were happy. Not all of lots were happy with their lots. And now we have a confederacy in Psalms 83, and we're getting into it, man.
Mr. Shapiro enlisted the help of George Thompson, a retired NYU librarian, to find a copy of those sermons. They found one of the sermons, the sermon on the captured Lord Cornwallis, at Houghton Library at Harvard University. Here is the cover page. Sermon on the capture of the Lord Cornwallis by an African American. Philadelphia, printed in the month of April 1780.
So someone's calling themselves African. Should they call all copper color races found here African? Because somebody who they don't know, if they're a man or a woman, is calling themselves African. Well, maybe they're just referring to their Moor or Morocco or Moor connection. Maybe they're referring to, hold up, man, we're just talking Cornwallis. Cornwallis and the siege of Yorktown. At the time of the spring 1781, General Cornwallis and his army entered Virginia despite the sorry state of the soldiers, many reduced to wearing cowhide tied on their feet for shoes. Cornwallis immediately determined to attack the army of Marquis de Lafayette that encamped near Richmond. Having dislodged Lafayette's forces, Cornwallis continued to pursue them up the James River Valley without managing to engage in full battle. John Ewald, a senior CN officer, listen up, with the army was appalled at the size of the army entourage with thousands of black followers of the flag. I mean, damn, when we're just talking about black followers of the flag, are we just talking treaties? Are we just talking treaties of peaces and friendships? and all that. Is that your piece, so-called Negro? I mean, would Kendrick Lamar be waking up way at this time? Like, damn, I forgot I was an Israelite. I just had to announce it. Don't call me black no more. If someone didn't make a treaty against his family, Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter here looking for the Grand Khan and then went to war against Israelites here using their manifest destiny and their dumb Diversas Papal Bulls 1452s to back it up. And would that have even occurred and been successful without the treaties of their peace and friendship with the corporation of the United States of America and the Bays and L's, the Bayals, the Bayals, the subjects and treaties of Barbary, Tripoli of Barbary? So we got this before, but these are the treaties. Look at the date, 1786. Let's go. 1781, so this is 5 years earlier. And 5 years earlier, we have Cornwallis and his British army with thousands of black followers of the flag. He claimed that every soldier had a Negro who carried his provisions, while the officers had 3 or 4 Negroes, as well as 1 or 2 Negresses for cooks and maids. Instead of the disciplined military force, Ewald thought Cornwallis's army and his motley entourage resembled a wandering Arabian Tartar horde. Now, who are we talking about? Oh yeah, remember King James colonized you with that London patent? Now you have the London Company and the Hudson Company. And this is all connected with this Cornwallis of Britain. And Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter to find you copper-colored races, and now they want to call all of you what? African American, and say this is what's coining it. Look, we found the phrase in 1782 by someone we don't even know who they are.
Me too. Such are the treasures residing at Harvard's Houghton Library, many of them still patiently waiting for a scholar to discover their historical significance. We don't know if this was the first printed use of the phrase African American, but it is now the first one we know about.
Listen up.
And we know nothing about the African American.
We know nothing about who the heck this person is, who this African American is, but we should just use this to connect to Jesse Jackson and say, yep, he was right. Somebody that we know nothing about called themselves African American, and thus it should coin that phrase for all the copper-colored tribes found here by the Europeans. That is asinine nonsense. But since it's nonsensical and since they don't know who this person is, right?
Nothing about the first one we know about, and we know nothing about the African American.
Cool. So since you know nada, we can have a theory, right? I mean, I think we should feel comfortable having a theory and been surfing the wave for ourselves. So let's go.
To the New York Times, Mr. Shapiro says, was it a freeman? Was it a slave? We don't know.
Well, that's very important if it's a freeman or a slave. I mean, which Moor are we talking about? This is a civil war of Moors, and Nasir Ducateers told you that.
Don't really know if the African American was actually a man, but he probably was.
What? So it could be a woman writing this. Cool. Let's go. Now that we know they don't know shit, we can now take that and be pretty secure in our own theory. No, we're talking about Cornwallis and his army and the wandering Arabian and Tartar horde, or the black followers of the flag. Let's go. And yeah, I dropped this wiki link too, man. This Cornwallis drop, but you know, he's the British Army officer, colonizer. All right, that's all you need to know. Let's go. So let's jump into it. So this is from an African American, someone calling themselves African in 1782. They might be an actual African American, born and raised in African or Morocco, and, you know, connecting over here too. All right, so let's go. how the mighty fallen. So they're going to go right into Samuel, man, chapter 1, verse 27, 1 Samuel, man. So let's go, I want to surf the wave. They're going to go right into the script. Let's go. These words are a part of David's soliloquy over the unfortunate son of Kish when he was slain by the hands of the uncircumcised Philistines and lay on the tops of Mount Gilboa. Let's get some vibration going, man. So he's going right into Samuel and David. He's going to go right into, the fact that, Israel, asking for a king, or, we didn't speak English, so we didn't say king or chief, but asking for a ruler or power to rule over them. Separate from the Creator, displeased the Creator. Yet the Creator knew that these people, would follow suit of the nations, and of course had a plan for that and kept it in the seed of David as a covenant. But we're going to read that, first it started with Saul, and then, he failed to keep that commandment that against the Philistines in that particular war of slaying, taking down everyone, not leaving no one alive because of the seed. We're fighting giants. We're fighting angel seed with these Canaanites and these Philistines. These are giants. We're going to get to that natural by law. Digging on it. So, then it went to David. So what's the intention? Was the intention ever to have a, ruler of Israel? Was the design, again, a woman could have a design, have a intention of not having pain at childbirth, but yet something happened that is the situation today. Women have massive amounts of pain. Man, love to Chef Candy. I got 4 of them, and I got nothing but love for Chef Candy and my mother and everyone, all our women that have to go through, all that discomfort, man. Real talk. You are strong, you are beautiful. However, the Most High, initially, women were able to give birth without pain. Yet, is it not the design that it happened this way for a time? And was it not the design that the Most High gave them a so-called, king in their language, or ruler, a righteous branch, a righteous seed of David to carry, even when they had a king, but a righteous seed, that will, be in the place of that judges and prophets, but will be a priest king. So now you have a priest king. Our kings were priest kings, or others were following after the wickedness of these angels as well, and they were not priest kings. They were, tyrannical, severe, rulers. And that's what the Most High was warning about, that when you go after their rulership, their manner of ruling, that it would be tyrannical on you. But our judges, our prophets, our priest kings, it's not a tyrannical situation. And when we get out of their language and we know that, certain things are intentions by the creators and certain things are by design, and that even though the Most High may not have the intentions of women having pain at childbirth, surely it is the design, because that's what it is today. Will it be forever? Will Israel, need a priest king forever? Or will we return to having our judges and our prophets and rocking directly with the Creator in pure water? And that's what we all hope for. So when we call each other kings and queens, we remember the royal seed, and that's all we're doing, is remembering the royal seed. But know that nothing comes between us and our Creator, and we are hijack free. We call out to our Creator directly. So let's jump into it. So these pathetic words delivered by the lips of the Prince of Israel on the death of Saul, a man who, while alive, counted him his most bitter enemy, seems to bespeak something more divine than human. And falls in with that blessed passage of Scripture where it is said, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink, and in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head, and Hawa will reward thee. Again, they use Lord to call on their angels, so we get out that frequency and speak the Creator's name when they're referring to the Creator. Hawa. In the farther prosecution of the subject, I shall endeavor to give a sketch of the government of Saul during his reign, and then secondly, show that the mightiest and most renowned heroes have fallen in battle as Saul did, and that they will continue to fall, and then thirdly touch upon the present evil day and the recent fall of the noble Lord of Britain, and then conclude I am first to treat on the reign and government of Saul. The children of Israel were under judges and prophets under Samuel the prophet, and then they asked the Lord a while for a king by the mouth of Samuel the prophet, which thing displeased Hawa and Samuel, which you find written in the 8th chapter of the first book of Samuel, in the 5th and following verses. Samuel informed them of the manner of a king. So he's saying, you want to go after these nations, here's the manner of their rulership, that he would be severe and tyrannical over them. And they follow in the manner of this severe and tyrannical chaos when they're calling on something to come between them and their Creator. Let's go. Again, love to Sophia Harris, man. We're just going to dig on it because they don't know who wrote this. So let's go. And then ye will cry out in that day because of your king, but Hawa will not hear you. Albeit the Israelites were stubborn and insisted to have a king like other nations. So they were looking for rulership in the manner of other nations. It wasn't about king or this or that. We didn't use these words. It was about having a ruler that's after the manner of these other nations. That the Most High is warning them will be severe and tyrannical. Since you don't want to deal with me, you're going to have to deal with a severe and tyrannical ruler in the manner of these Gentiles, of these heathen. And Hawa chose Saul. So he chose Saul. But then later, as we know, he had a covenant with David. So he chose Saul. So his intention was Saul, but the design happened through David. His intention was for us to be ruled under judges and prophets, but the design became a covenant with David. His intention was to choose Saul, but Saul was no sooner chosen than he began to show his courage and valor by relieving the distressed men of Kadesh Gilead that were oppressed by the Ammonites. Here comes Psalms 83. For he defeated them and slew them with very great slaughter. And in the 11th chapter, in the first book of Samuel, and 11th verse, there was no nation so great an enemy to Israel in the reign of Saul as the Philistines. All right, we're going to connect that to giants. Let's go. They were thorns in their sides, though the victorious arms of Saul often punished their insolence, defeated their generals, and laid waste their choicest cities. Yet their voice was also for war, and at last they were appointed by Hawa to be the scourge and ruin of the kingdom of Israel. While under the government of Saul, as you will find in the enduring discourse, however victorious this Benjamite had been, his days of victory are now past, and his ruin is fast approaching. Saul's destruction sprung from the disobedience in the expedition against the Amalekites, where he was ordered by Hawa to go and destroy the sinners, root and branch, men and women. So this was his commandment. Did he follow it? As you know, he did not follow this commandment to go and destroy the transgressors, sinners, transgressors, the root and branch, men and women, suckling and ass, to leave nothing remained unto them. But he spared their king, the choicest cattle. Alright, so he went against the command, which thing displeased Hawa and Samuel, and he was told by the good Samuel that he had done foolishly in not performing the divine commands, as thou hast rejected the commandment of Hawa, he has also rejected thee from being king, and has given it to the neighbor of thine that is better than thou, even David. All right, so his intention was Saul. Now the covenant is resting with David. So can we not comprehend that the design was always David, even if his intention, or the beginning of this design, the beginning of the unfolding, ended up in Saul. But of course, the Most High knows, that it will rest with David. So, it's interesting with that, when we look at that perspective of the intention versus the design, and really it's all one and the same. The design is the intention when you get down to it, Saul could not bear his new rival, and after that looked upon David as his most bitter enemy. Ambition, that earthly deity, had so much power over the unfortunate son of Kish that he could not relish the son of Jesse, but all his malice and pride, though ever for cemented, was not able to relinquish or obliterate the divine command, and his fall was executed by the Philistines on Mount Gilboa. Thus the mighty Saul is fallen in the midst of the battle, and the weapons of his war perish, which thing was predicted by David when he said, "Let him alone, his day shall come, and he shall descend into battle and perish." Yet we find this very David sympathizing and weeping over Saul, which is the lively characteristic of a Christian. Oh, the hijack's never late. The train's never late. All right, dodge the hijack. How you gonna make King David, the Israelite king, father of Solomon, a Christian? You know what I mean? An anointed of the Greeks. Christ is a Greek word. An anointed of Greeks. How is an Israelite king? All right, you're gonna make me throw my laptop. But you know how they be trying to throw that Nestorian in there. But let's dodge the hijack. Let's go. So thus you see how the mighty have fallen. Thus fell Sisera, and the captain of Jabin, and the king of Canaan, when he fought against Deborah and Barak, and so likewise fell Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, when expiring he confessed, as he had done unto others, so had Hawah done unto him, and he died in Jerusalem. So Og, the king of Bashan, and Sihon, the king of the Amorites, and the kings of Canaan, listen up, fell under the hands of Joshua, or Hawashua. Dig on that campfire drop session, man. Because we're saying which Joshua. Clearly they hijacked your Joshua, also known as Quetzalcoatl. Love to Paco. We're about to get to it. Alright. So this Joshua now became their Jesus. They took the essence of this Joshua that they all hate, because they formed a confederacy against this Joshua and this army of you. And they wiped the memory of this Joshua clean, and they started their own Joshua, or Yeshua, or Jesus. And now they have this other Jesus who's doing nothing but walking around in the new covenant. When Joshua gave you your new land, your promised land, now this other Jesus, Yeshua, is walking around in his own new covenant, saying your law's done. Law's done. Representing some doneness of the law. Now quoting Moses left and right. Well, who else would be quoting Moses but Joshua, Yeshua, Hawashua? So you got two Joshuas quoting Moses. Which one are you going to rock with? The one that brought you to your land, or the one that disappeared and said, "I'll be back in 2,000 years"? Sort of. So we choose up to our Joshua. This is our Hamashiach. This is the one who led us to our land and divided us into our lots, that sliced and diced the kings of the Canaanites and the Amorites. Oh, they dislike this Hawashua very much because he's so real. The mightiest men have fallen either victims to death or their own ambition. And if we are to trace the sacred writings, we shall find that the most renowned for war have often been checked by death when glorifying and exalting in the field of battle. If we were to inspect the ancient historians also, we shall find The mighty have often fallen in battle. So fell the kings of Persia, Darius, and others that ruled over him, after him, and the emperors of Rome, after all their noble and military achievements. They fell. Who does that remind you of today? Fell either victims to death or their own ambition. Who does that remind you of today? As it has been acknowledged by one of the late expiring warriors of Hesse. When his last breath, he repeated these words, "I die," says he, "a victim to my own ambition and to my avarice of my prince, but I fall by the hands of a brave and generous enemy." It would be needless to enumerate all those mighty men that have fallen in battle, as it will transgress on the patience of my hearers. This is Count Dono at Red Bank. Let's go. Let me now treat on the fall of the noble Lord. This is why we don't say Lord, because Lord is what they call each other. Lord is what they call their angels. We don't call our Creator Lord. We call her Hawa, the breath, the security, the secure breath, all breath that is secured. Every breath you take is your security. Let me now treat on the fall of the noble Lord of Britain, he who was appointed to subjugate and to conquer the sons of freedom. Who are the sons of freedom? Who desires freedom? Who keeps getting put in captivity? Who's constantly in captivity? Egyptian captivity, Persia captivity, Medes captivity, Babylonian captivity, Assyrian captivity, Roman captivity, Greek captivity, Ame'rican captivity, Diversas 1452 Papal Bull. You are prisoners of war now in captivity. But you are the sons and daughters of freedom. But alas, what a talk. A talk too hard for Britain ever to accomplish, especially with the sword. The sword is the worst logic to compel those to be slaves whom nature's Hawa ordained to be free. So wherever this African American is telling you straight like it is that the sword is the worst logic to compel those to be slaves whose nature's Hawa ordained to be free. It is not surprisingly wonderful that an infatuated ministry should imagine that the Americans will give up their natural rights. The Americans, we're saying, so we know we're talking America, will give up their natural rights. You know, we're talking melanated America. You know, we're just talking melanated America, man. Because when they came here in we're talking about 1780, 1782, and what, 20 years or 30 years later, they put together their dictionary in 1828. And when you look up American, it doesn't say African. It says the copper color races found here by the European native of America applied to the original people. The copper colored dark races found here. Oh no, African American. Found here. Oh, everybody on earth gotta come from one melanated place. Found here. What happened to Lemuria? What happened to Mu? What happened to all the sunken lands of melanated? What happened to all those lands across the ice, beyond the walls? More melanated areas. No, it all comes from Africa. That is hijack 101, to steal your inheritance, to steal your earth. While you go scrambling to Africa, they steal it all in Asia, in America, and all the lands and islands in between. America is the original, the copper colored race found here, but now applied to descendants of the invasion and the invaders. the people that the Most High destined to be free. Americans will give up their natural rights. The copper color race found here will give up their natural rights to be destroyed by their commissioned heroes. No, however exalted their ambition may be, it would not be able to prevent or restrain the freedom of the freeborn sons of America. So this author is saying straight up, however exalted their ambitions may be, man, these hijacks, it would not be able to prevent or restrain the freedom of the freeborn sons of America. American, natives of America, originally applied to aboriginals or copper-colored races. That's very important because copper is a conduit of energy. And nothing's going to be able to restrain the freedom of you, copper-colored races found here by the European sons of America. Listen up. This southern hero, this Mars of war, Moors from Mars, their god of war, Christos, is also their Zeus. It's also their sun god of war, sun god, Jesus of war, Zeus is Zeus of war, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, and more. This censor of a defeated general, this apostolate of America, he, after being one of the conquerors of the capital of Carolina, marched with rapidity into the interior parts of that country. We're talking about the invasion of the Carolinas, intimidating those that were already intimidated, carrying fire and sword through the distressed country, reducing those to misery who were at quiet in their peaceable abodes, and compelling others to swear allegiance to the despotic government, distressing the fatherless and the widow, murdering the wounded prisoners, violating the law of nations. Wow, they're violating the law of nations. That got anything to do with their treaties? And hanging those that pleaded for mercy. Damn, it's the worst of the heathen. Deuteronomy 28. Surely Hawa will visit for these things, man. Paybacks in the playback, man. Surely Hawa will visit, man. Will make a recompense, man. And will they recompense you? And his soul will be avenged on such a nation as this. Wow. No incense or oblation that can be offered on the altar or repentance will serve to extinguish that guilt. Nothing can take away, just like the Most High said, nothing can recompense for what has been taken away or appease the wrath of that Hawa has said. Whosoever sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of Hawa did Hawa make man. Every act of petty tyranny that is committed in the name of the prince is sure to fully the lustre of his crown. David causes Uriah to be put into the front of the battle, and there he was slain. Yet David was the murderer. So the king of Britain, though he does not with his own hand murder the free man of America, yet it is by his orders that his generals are their butchers, and his officers and commanders are cutthroats and plunderers. But as mighty as he and they are, How are they fallen? How is the mighty fallen? Though not all fallen victim to death, as the unfortunate Saul did, yet they are fallen and compelled to acknowledge the superiority of the allied arms of America and France. So now we're just talking treaties, especially at the glorious affair of Yorktown. This minstrel this minstrel god, this boasted southern hero of Britain, minstrel god, excuse me. So yeah, we're talking about their angels, all right? So this minstrel god, that's why we don't call Hawa God. You know what I'm saying? So I got to back it up. They're talking about their G-O-D or D-O-G. Their dog, their Sirius. This boasted southern hero of Britain, after spreading desolation, devastation, and destruction through all that country, plundered the indigent as well as the wealthy, spoiling the labor of the honest husbandman, and causing him and his children to sit down in poverty and sorrow. He arrived with his banditti at Yorktown, the place where gracious heaven assigned for him to surrender with all his forces circumscribed to the confines of Yorktown. He was unable to withstand for the formidable forces of the allied armies, the thundering of whose cannon, something like that, of whose cannons seems to bellow forth in his ears freedom and independence. How this Lord of Britain could have felt in his terrible situation, I leave to his own confidence to determine, after rapidly carrying fire and sword through the southern states, reducing many to poverty, who had lived in affluence, and causing many women to be widows and children to be fatherless. Methinks, if he had any conscience, he must have had some remorse. But whether he was hardened or temperate, he was obliged to surrender to the victorious arms of America and France. And I wonder which France we're getting at here. You know what I'm saying? This is what, 1780? So are we still talking about the Franks? Are we still talking about, because we have a connection there as well. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting how they're using France here. We're talking white France, or we're talking some other melanated France, you know what I mean? So let's go. In that month, which ought to be ever remembered by Americans and observed by them as the month of Abib, we're talking Hebrew, was by the children of Israel. Wow. After their deliverance from the land of Egypt. So again, in the month which ought to be remembered by Americans and observed by them as the month of Abib. Why did Columbus bring a Hebrew interpreter to America? And what is this author, who is anonymous, who's calling themselves African American? What do they know about you Americans? We're the Grand Khan and the Israelite King across from Prester John, across the Sandbank Yan. These Americans ought to be remembered this month, observed by them as the month of Abib. This is your harvest. This is your deliverance. When the children of Israel, after their deliverance from the land of Egypt or bondage, how is the mighty fallen, much more disgraceful than the general whom he rigidly censored after the defeat of Saratoga. He, after permitting to be protector, could not or did not protect. Man, this is actually better than I thought, man. Let's go. We're almost done. Protect those whom he had compelled to swear allegiance, but threw them on the mercy of their countrymen. Come hither, all ye loyalists, ye protectionists, ye whitewashed Americans. Wow. Ye purged Americans, come and view the capitulation made for you in Yorktown, and there view the veracity of British promises and protection. And what shall I say unto you, you who have joined the open enemies of your country and have been worse than the open enemies of America? What shall I say to you that have signed treaties? Whitewashed Americans that have signed treaties. Whitewashed Americans that have signed treaties with the corporation. We're just talking Bay Isles and subjects of Tripoli and Barbary. Whitewashed Americans who have signed treaties. He purged Americans. Come and view the capitulation made for you in Yorktown, and there view the veracity of British promises of protection. And what shall I say to you, you have joined, you who have signed treaties, the open enemies with open enemies of your country, and you are worse, you have been worse than the open enemies of America. You who have signed treaties have been worse than the enemies of America. You have been worse than the descendants of the Europeans born in America who have stolen our titles. You're worse than that because they could not have our titles if it wasn't for your treaties. But your treaties, you thought you can get more. You weren't satisfied with your lots. You despised the indigenous Israelite copper-colored races found here and have done treaties against us, and now we are waking up saying, don't call us black no more. That word is only a color. It ain't facts no more. Let's get the rest. You ought to have judgment without mercy. You are worse than the enemies of America, unprotected by them. You are now left desolate. You are unprotected by your treaties. You are left desolate. Now you fall. You ought to have judgment without mercy. That showed no mercy. Therefore, mercy is, you show no mercy, man. So mercy is triumphant over judgment. How is the mighty fallen? This noble hero was checked in his mad career by the American Fabius and the armies of her allies. Dismay seized his lordship in the fortified dungeon. Reluctant yet obliged to capitulate, or to be destroyed, he and his army, the elements seemed unfavorable to his hero. Neptune forbade his strong gales to blow. Oh, we're back in their celestial, their Neptune, their wandering stars, dissuading you from the right path, so that no succors that. Alright, so F's are S's, man. F's are S's. Alright, so we see Africa, AFF. Switch them to S's. You see this F right here? It is a S. So that no succors could reach, whatever that is, could reach the British Lord. In this situation, he was reduced to case the British standard. A retreat was impossible and resistance was vain. However mortifying, there was no alternative. Yield or perish. Amidst the roaring of musketry, the thundering of cannons, and the bellowing of martyrs. Cannons and cannons and cannons and cannons. O Cornwallis, how art thou fallen, thou who was the pride of Britain, stilled the southern hero and parliamentary god, compelled to surrender the imperious standard to the combined armies of America and the House of Bourbon. This noble lord of Britain, after being a prisoner to the American commander-in-chief, received such favors from him as will gain him immortal honor, though the lordship ought to have been considered as an object of American vengeance. He was treated with humanity, gentleness, and generosity, which has ever distinguished the American commander-in-chief. since the unhappy contest has committed. He was invited to his table. Invite this cat to his table, man. A noble pattern for our enemies to take. Did he go? No. Conscience. The monitor of heaven so checked his lordship that he declined the visit. Humanity as well as courage dignifies and ornaments the soldier, and at once makes him respected by his friends and enemies. Before I proceed any further, let me address myself to my own complexion. Ye who are my brothers. So he's talking about his own melanated complexion. Ye who are my brothers, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, ye descendants of Africa. Okay, so we got some revelation here. So even though he's, right on point, talking about the Ame'rican struggle, the melanated American, he's admitting and saying that he is a descendant of Africa, or at least believes so in 1782, which, that was before a lot of the hijack of the 1800s came in. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's calling himself an African American. He's from Africa. That's what he's saying. Descendants of Africa. All right, that's what he is or she is. Let's go. Tell me in plain and simple language. Have ye not been disappointed? Have ye reaped what you labor for? Have you enjoyed the ease and benefit which you expected at the found of the British Army? So he's saying, look, man, you descendants of Africa. Remember, this Cornwallis army, he's specifically talking to the black followers of the flag. That Johnny Wall, the senior Hessian officer with the army, was appalled at the size of the army entourage with thousands of black followers of the flag. He's addressing them. He's addressing those that look like wandering Arabian or Tartar horde, resembling a wandering Arabian or Tartar horde. So he's saying, you, descendants of Africa, all right, have you been disappointed? Have you reaped what you labor for? Has the British Army let you down, man? Have they kept their treaties? If you say yes, I can convince you to the contrary. How many of you, since you have joined them, have died in a ditch, and being seized with some epidemic disorder, you have wallowed in the streets and lain like dung upon the face of the earth? O my countrymen, desist, though many of you I must counsel or counsel, something like that, which have led ignominious lives with your masters. Yet it is better for you to abide with them. Perhaps the day will come when you will enjoy more happiness, you and your children's children, than ever you did. Let patience have her perfect work, and ye shall be perfect and lack nothing. Pardon this discretion. Let me reassume my subject. How is the mighty fallen? What great things, what noble deeds have been performed by the sons of freedom since the unhappy war, and martial deeds, noble exploits, and unparalleled achievements. 2 generals to be captured with their army in the country they came to invade. History does not tell instances for so noble. Not an Alexander or a Caesar, nor a Marlborough or Eugene ever performed so nobly. But perhaps there are some who will applaud the conduct of this Lord of Britain and call him a faithful servant of the crown and the cause he is defending. Yes, certainly he was, but in rapine and murder, plunder and desolation, bloodshed and devastation, the trophies of victory, if they are, that such trophies as these be assigned to the British heroes now in America. There is a secret in the art of governing too often concealed from the pride of kings, and that is contained in the sober truth. There is no absolute power but that of the laws, and he who aims at despotism enslaves himself. He who ought to be I'm sorry, some of this is really light, the vicegerent of heaven, is the tyrant of the people. He ought to be the dispenser of peace and happiness to the nation. See, so instead of ruling as a tyrannical ruler, he ought to be a ruler dispensing peace and happiness to the nation, and to be, as he is, something or a title, defender of the faith. But instead of that, he is the destroyer of it. He's something, the supreme power. I'm trying. The supreme power, as it approaches the tyranny, becomes feeble in proportion. It is upon ministers and all the little substitutes of authority, that the sovereign must depend for the love or the hatred of mankind. He ought therefore to watch them with a careful and a jealous eye. They are too often the most cruel enemies. He has ambition, and their own sordid views are attended to more than the happiness of the kingdom, where they are highly honored to support and represent. But enough on this head. Is it any pleasure to be a cruel conqueror, to distress the distressed, to desolate countries, to brandish the sword of war, to imbrue men's hands in each other's blood? No, certainly it can be no pleasure to any man who possesses a conscience and who has any feeling for the human race. Certainly, if there is any merit in being the author of benevolence, surely it must redound to those who showeth mercy to the unmerciful, treating those with lenity and kindness, who have been the murderers of thousands. The treatment that this noble warrior of Britain met with from the commander-in-chief is worthy of applause, and will meet with that approbation that it has nobly merited. Let me hasten to a conclusion, having already transgressed on those who have made divinity their fluid, and who have enjoyed the blessed advantages of a liberal education. Who would have thought that these infant states and their allies would have been able to withstand and to check the progress of the British arms in America? So this is leading up to their American independence. But who was the original presidents of this America? Remember, this George Washington was not the first president, right? So which ones are they hiding? And what is going on with this melanated war of more? And who was really fighting in this independent situation? Who is this really about, man? And then the hijack is real, so we're trying to see what this melanated person who is, defending these Americans, yet, says that they're descendants of Africans. So we're trying to put it all in perspective. We don't know. I don't know. Let's go. All their victories that they have gained in America have been as good as defeats, and their carnages as sacrifice. Let me now, if not amiss, address that respectable and honorable body known by the appellation of the Continental Congress, ye to whose wisdom and unanimity, preservation, and deliberation America owes her present pleasing and agreeable situation, unawed by threats, fearless in danger, calm in distress, wise in consolations, and prudent in representations. Yet ye have not failed to make the peace and interdependency of your country your chief studies. May you be protected by heaven as well as directed as may you have the spirit of discernment, which will enable you to discover your secret as well as your open enemies, and may you live to see America and her sons flourish as the wine and be as tall as cedars. Here we go. Alright, so you want to be as tall as cedars. We keep being referred to as these cedar trees. Love to teach, even as the cedars of Lebanon. And may you all have a rich equivalent for your unwearied endeavors and indefatigable industry. Now, my beloved countrymen, if I may be permitted thus to call you. So he's saying, my countrymen, if I may be permitted to call you. So even though I come from Africa, I'm talking about the American. And if I may be permitted to call myself your countryman, American, copper color race found here, if I may be permitted to call myself the countrymen of these copper color races that are found here, my distressed yet virtuous Carolinians, ye who are the last, I hope, to feel the dire hand of British imposition, treachery, violence, and barbarities, let your integrities hold you out to the left. You will yet live to rejoice with your brethren and have the happiness of hearing America held independence throughout the globe, when the olive branch of peace shall erect its standard in the 13 states. I remember these original 13 colonies were Moorish colonies. Then they got turned over to these people and treaties were done and were banished and imprisoned. Confiscation and sequestration, something like that. All right, you tell me. Sequestration, something like that. All right, shall never come, or any other evil that now disturbs the peace and happiness of America. Oh, my beloved exiles, you've been exiled in your own land. You are the gone forward to assist in recovering your country, though in every degree. Can't make that out. Necessitated, something like that. Resuscitated. Fear not the strong gates, and leave gates of. Alright, 2 more pages. Leave gates of Charleston. The gates of Charleston shall open unto you, as the gates of Babylon did unto Cyrus. Okay. So we clearly are referring to the American Israelites. It keeps being referred to as the same, migration, or same, lamentation, or the same prophecies that are related to Israelites in the Torah, in the Tanakh, either by an artificial earthquake, storm, or your intimidated enemies unable to hold or bar them against you any longer, shall evacuate that capital, which is your undoubted right, and endeavor by some means to save some of the western islands. They may be infatuated to try another campaign, but in my humble opinion, it would be as fruitless as all the others have tried. What noble exploits have been performed by the arms of our allies, retaking a captured island and capturing almost all the others that lay in its vicinity, compelling these boasted heroes of Britain to surrender, though they were fortified with brimstone. Let America say, let the American say, blessed be Jehovah for this illustrious ally, the monarch of France, he who has heaven ordained to humble the arrogance and offentation of Britain. So again, which France are we digging on here? You know what I'm saying? As well as settling the permanent basis of an honorable peace and an immovable independence. It is by the combination exertions of her arms that you were enabled to capture the southern hero, and it is, I hope, by her arms that you will ere long be made independent by the monarch of Britain. For as Britain As bitter as the pill may seem to be, it must be swallowed and digested too, for America must, under heaven, be independent, and all the force and malice of our enemies will never be able to make us relinquish it. Her heroic sons, now well experienced in the art of war, dare to meet her veterans wheresoever they are assembled. And again, this is really, a big document, because being from Africa or not, this is African American, whatever we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Unless this is a white person referring to themselves as African American. You know what I'm saying? Which, hey, you can surf that way. But, we're talking about complexion and all this other stuff like that. So, it clearly seems to me to be a melanated, revelation, so to speak, of what's really your place in this declaration, this 1776, this Civil War. It seems to be almost like an inside track into this more and more Civil War. But, we don't know who this person is, so we're just surfing, to get a reference point here. And will use the instruments of death with as much gallantry and address. Inspired with freedom's sacred fire, they eagerly run to the field. They're determined to conquer or to die. With what glorifies shall these worthies be mentioned in future ages? Posterity shall tell of their noble deeds until time shall be no more. Let America teach her rising generation the sweets of liberty. Let their children have its precepts embroidered. Who do you think we're talking about? Kendrick Lamar told you that. He told you, man. I'm an Israelite. Don't call me black no more. We're talking about you being embroidered upon their garments as the children of Israel did the law of Moses. We're talking America. We're talking Israel. We're talking Kalalus. It's all connecting. Fight, my distressed yet virtuous Americans. So you got your garments as the children of Israel did the law of Moses, and yet fight, you virtuous copper-colored Americans. Found here by the Europeans. Now your title's going to the descendant of the invaders. Man, real spill. So let's take it on home. Yet virtuous Americans, support your brethren. Fight, copper-colored races. Support your brethren that are now fighting in the cause. So this was already going down. And who are sealing your independence with their blood. Fight and drive out the Canaanites from among the sons of freedom. Is it getting clearer? Oh, man, trying to get to this natural by law, because he's going to go back into the Canaanites. And we remember what that Moabite series, man, part 1 through 7. We got on that Noble Drew Ali, who said, in his own words, Noble Drew Ali said the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem. And again, it's all Amexem. Amexem is everything. Amexem is everything. So then he goes into, the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. We showed you the map that is America. That's code word for America, northwest Africa. They were founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire with their Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite brethren. Psalms 83. So these Hittites and Canaanites and Amorites made a confederacy, did treaties against the copper-colored race found here by the Europeans. And now we're just saying that, yet fight, you distressed yet virtuous Americans, support your brethren that are now fighting in the cause of liberty and who are sealing your independence with their blood. Fight and drive out the Canaanites. So I guess we're also talking about the Canaanite and the Hittite and the Amorite and the Moabite who are sojourning in your land, people, from their land of Canaan over there, seeking new homes. Their dominions and habitation extend from what? North, east, and south. So they want to, says who? Says their angels, right? Says them. But they're trying to take your dominion, take your homes, and that's what Joshua was clearing out. That's what Joshua successfully cleared out. Let's go. Supplicate heaven for your commanders and generals, that they may be so inspired with liberty as notably to fight your battles. Fight, or you will have the curse of the angel pronounced against the inhabitants of Meroz. Judges 5th chapter 23rd verse. Fear not, nor be dismayed. Your seduced brethren, your deserted brethren shall join you. Whoa. Your seduced and deserted brethren shall join you and will rely on your mercy for their salvation. So they're going to say, hey, man, I need mercy from y'all. We need your mercy so we can live, for their salvation and support, though many of them are worse than your oppressors, your own brothers, that will come back and say, yo, man, please have mercy on us, but they're worse than your oppressors. Ain't that what we keep saying? I mean, Britons, yet spare them, though some of them can hardly be saved by any law. Their crimes have been so heinous and criminal in nature, but if a general amnesty take place, Hawa granted, for it is better to save life than to destroy. Although you are not as yet declared independent by Britain. Remember these London Company and patents, these King James, King Charles patents. Your independence is sure, and you are bound by the strongest obligation to bless the supreme ruler of the universe, or the creator, for all that he has done for you since you have been involved in this war. Bless him for the free exercise of your religion. Bless him for the happiness you enjoy in nursing your seminaries of learning, and you're having some trade and commerce, though your enemies are so inveterate against it. Bless him for the fair prospect of peace, and if your enemies will not grant it, you are still able to cope with them. I might enlarge here, but have already transgressed. I must now wind up this imperfect peace with the words of one who has experienced British cruelty. Vaunt no more, old England. Consider you are but an island, and that your power has been continued. Last page. Continued longer than the exercise of your humanities. Order your defeated and broken armies to retire from America, the scene of your cruelty. Go home and repent in dust and ashes for your aggravated crimes. The cries of bereaved parents, widows, and orphans reach the heavens, and you are abominated by every friend to America. Take your friends, the timid Americans, with you. The timid Americans with you. The timid Americans that signed treaties against us. Take them with you. Go home and repent in dust and ashes. Take your friends, the timid, treacherous, traitor Americans, the treacherous Templars. Take the treacherous Templars with you. And be gone and drink deep of the cup of humiliation. Make peace with the princes of the house of Bourbon. For you are in no condition to wage war with them. Your veteran soldiers are fallen in America. Your hired troops have been Trentowned and red banked, and your ancient glory is departed. If you desist now, you may save the honor of your nation and may add to your tranquility, But if not, you will be a lost nation. So this is a warning against the heathen, against the treacherous family that is turned against you. And there will be none to help or to pity. Now to him who is Hawa of battles be all honor and glory forever and ever. Amen. All right, so that's what they say. That's what it is, man. And then, that's it, man. So let's just, take that on in. Again, all we were talking about was the black followers of that flag. The wandering Arabian Tartar horde. These treaties of peace and friendship with the corporation against you. With the Bays and the L's, the Bayals and the corporation against you. And with that, man, let's jump right in to a little bit of that natural by law, man. We're going to get into some of this Nephilim. Y'all go dig. Y'all go get all the drop. I'm just going to do a belly flop. Let's go. Hold on. Let me get my... All right. Yeah.
Right. So,
King.
as we deal with the indigenous truth, right? Now, the indigenous truth tells us what? When we're dealing with the word Hebrew, what are we getting? Or Aber, right? What do we get? The pinion, the wing, right? A wing feather, right? So from the wing feather, we know dealing with the indigenous truth, right? The Aboriginals having their tie to the feather, right? And it's backed up by what? Ebra, right? And Ebra is the root word in what? Abraham, right? So it's the same thing, right? Pinion, which is the feather. Pinion is the feather. Wing, right? Pinion or wing, right? And we have the ostrich, and we also have the eagle, right? And then they throw dove in there. But see how we're dealing with Ebra, right? And then it'll break it down to you right here. Ebra. Alright? So this is the feminine version of what? Eber. See? We right back at it. So, you dealing with the indigenous truth, right? And we know that we've been hijacked, right? There's been identity theft, right? Why are we dealing with feathers, wings, and of the such, right, in Hebrew? And why is this the root name of Abraham? But we know this, right? So this is just the separation, all right? For all those who still get confused and get tied up, all right? The hijack is rocking with across the river or beyond the river because of who it's referring to, right? The source of this message is coming from who? The Amorites. And what do the Amorites do? The Martu, who know no grain. The Martu, who know no house nor town. The boars of the mountains. The Martu, who digs up truffles. Who does not bend his knees to cultivate the land. Who eats raw meat. Who has no house during his lifetime. Who is not buried after death.
Who has no house during his lifetime. Let's go back to Noble Drew Ali. Because we're talking about the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites. The brother's going to get it. We're talking about the founders of this Mauritania situation, these Moors, these treaties with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren. Raw meat, no law, who don't have a home. What does he say with his own words? Who sojourn from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Who don't have a home. Let's go.
That's who the Amorite is, right?
Bang.
Or the Emirites. You know, however you want to put it. Alright? So when you see this Ibernari being of the Amorites, and they give you the meaning beyond or across the river, it's not the indigenous truth. It's not the indigenous wave. It's not the indigenous vibration. It's not the frequency. Because here we have the same word and we're just dealing with pinions, which is a feather. We're just dealing with wings. Right? And the Indians knew a lot about wings and feathers, right? They had reverence, right? Respect for the feathers, right? So, yeah. I just wanted to bring that up to you guys' attention, right? So, as we go ahead and continue on, this is Sardinia. Now, we heard them mention Sardinia, right? And they said this was the island where what? The giants came, right? So let's check it out.
Pay attention.
What are we looking at? Check out the flag, right? You see the flag?
Uh-oh.
This is the flag of Sardinia. Right? And we know who this is, right? We know what this means, right? So these Canaanites, what? They jumped to this island Sardinia and began to what? Take over, right? Because we read where? In the book of Jasher, right? That the nation of Edom and Kittim that is what? Greece. And the Romans, right? They went to war with one another. These two nations went to war, right? As Joshua was pushing out the Canaanites and the Amorites from the land, right? Joshua pushed them out. So Edom's over here fighting with Kittim, right? That's what we're dealing with. So over here, this being Sardinia, right? This would be the land of Kittim, right? So here we have the etymology of the name, right? And the name Sardinia is from the pre-Roman noun, right? Which was later Romanized as Sardis. It makes its first appearance on the North stone, where the word sardine, right? See how there's no vowels. Testifies to the name's existence when the Phoenician merchants first arrived. Alright? So this is the Canaanites right here. And they're telling you that they arrived on the island of Sardinia, which was a pre-Roman noun. Alright? It says that according to Timaeus, right, one of Plato's dialogues, Sardinia and its people as well might have been named after Sardo, a legendary woman born in Sardis, alright, capital of the ancient kingdom of Lydia. There has also been speculation that identifies the ancient Nuragic Sards with the Sheridan, one of the sea peoples. Alright, so now that we already can identify the fish people, whatever we want to refer to them as, right? The ones that carry the mutation, obviously these Phoenicians are them, right? They are referred to as the sea peoples, right? So these sea people popped up upon this island, right? Which belonged to the nation of Kittim, right? And, this is where the caves is at, right? I mean, we saw through the slide that we were looking at earlier, right? Look at this cave. Now I know some of y'all be like, "Oh, this is beautiful," and you will be tripping, right? Because this is a cave, man. Like, this is not for you,
Man.
right? But anyways. Right, it's nearest to Corsica, right? The island of Corsica. Let's check that out real quick, right? Wow, check out the flag on this, right?
Wow.
Look at that.
Uh-oh.
Isn't this the Moor?
Uh-oh.
Right? So, this is what? Who would this be? Kittim, right?
Uh-oh.
Wouldn't this be Kittim? Wouldn't this be the Aboriginals of Greece? Obviously, because we know the Phoenician, right? The Canaanite didn't look like him, or did he? See, and that's the confusion that comes with this Moorish doctrine, right? Because you don't know when to separate the Canaanite from the Moor.
When do you
separate? Look at it. The cultures are merged.
The cultures emerge. When do you separate the Canaanite from the Moor? Well, according to the Moor, according to the Moabite, according to Noble Drew Ali, the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. There is no separation. The dominion of Cush, northeast, Southeast Africa, Northwest, it's all there in Mexim. All this is a Mexim. All this is Atlantis to them. All this is more on Mars. Was the Father's dominion of Africa in later years? Many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. So their Holy Lands are joining the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa, which is America, from Moab, according to the Pharaoh's permission, according to Egyptian Atlantean permission. They can come to America now, just like Poseidon in the Greek mythology. They were founders and are the true possessors, they say, the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. And where is that? In America. So they're the true possessors of America, according to their Atlantean, Pharaoh, Egyptian permission. They are the ancient Canaanite. They are the Moabite. They are the Moabites. This is the present American and Moroccan Empire with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren. And why does that face keep popping up everywhere we go?
So there's something going on between these Canaanites, right? And
Word.
These Moors.
Word.
Right? And this is the culture of Italy. Right? So this is all what? Italian, Corsican language, right? And now the French have control over this region. So you can tell why they fought for this piece right here. Alright? Let's look. Prehistory and ancient age. Right? It says the origin of the name Corsica is subject to much debate and remains a mystery. Right? It says, to the ancient Greeks, it was known as I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I'm going to just say Corsis, Cyrenos, right? Cerni, whatever this would be. Y'all can see this for yourselves. I'm not going to butcher none of these words, right? But they say of these, right, derive from a corruption of the most ancient Greek name of the island, right? So there's a debate over the origin of the name, but it's Greek, right? And then they say it's the meaning of the sirens, right? So this is where the sirens used to chill, right? So in Greek mythology, they always were talking about sirens. And if we can place this to what? Genesis 6:4, this is right on time, right? Like this lines up. Those of the fallen intermingling with those of man, right? Because it says that these are the very same sirens that were mentioned in Homer's Odyssey. And we know who Homer is, right? And then it says the claim that the latter Greek names are based off the Phoenician word for peninsula are highly unlikely. Maybe it's because the Greek names predate that of the Phoenician. And maybe the Phoenician is the one that came over there and invaded, right? Because that's what the book of Jashir, right? Hawashar, right?
Sure.
I'm just saying, man, we able to see it, right? It's right here. Alright, so we're gonna go back. Alright. Who's dealing on this, right?
Man, and we're about to get more into that Hawashar, man. We're gonna get into that chapter 2. We're gonna keep it going. Y'all get the rest of this. I gotta keep it flowing, keep it belly flopping into Paco. But y'all get the rest of this natural by law. Cause trust me, you don't want to miss it. I could literally just sit back and just watch the whole thing and do a bunch of parts, man. That's how pure water, and I love my family. I love the energy. I love this Paco. We belly flopping Paco. Love to you, young king. Love to the family and the royal seeds. Let's go. Paco.
Because our Creator says, do not envy the life of the sinner. What is a sinner? Someone who transgresses the law. Who never had the law from their birth. Who was formed in chaos. Who was formed in destruction. Then you know what a sinner is. And when you fall short of the law, you become just like them. So stand up. How are you, da?
Whoa.
Stand up. How are Israel? Stand up and remember who you are. breathe in your security. Because everything that they have is a re-engineered product of you. Oh, man. I do it for you, not for me. Because I can't be great if it's not for the we. And I ain't talking games, so don't play with me. You don't believe me when I say they re-engineer everything off you, do it? Do you? Prove it, you ask. I feel like we learn better by action. Through action. Vibrate. I want every autochthonous person who's under the sound of my voice to do me a favor. Look at your hand, the back of it. Look at it. Stare at it. Go out in the sun and look at it. I'm being serious. Go. If you simply did what I asked you to do, you will understand why I just did what I did. Because if you didn't, you won't understand why. You are the building blocks of life. The building blocks of life shine through you. Because those same building patterns that we see in the walls of Peru, in the walls of Egypt, and all the megalithic structures all around the world, those patterns can not only be found in the plants, in the animal kingdom, in the cosmos, they can be found on you. If you zoom in and really look at your hands, okay, the reason I asked y'all to do that was for two reasons. Number one, if you zoom in and look at your hands, the back of your hand, you will see little blocks coming together, forming rows. All the blocks are shaped differently. But they all fit together. So when you see people glorifying or being in awe of the pyramids, of the megalithic structures in Peru, I want you to tell them something. Look at me. Have you forgot the awesomeness that the Negro was made in? Have you forgotten your royalty? So all this shit that they got is based off you. Because before they can get back to their creator, they have to go through you. Because our creator says he only deals with us. We are the rubies of his eyes. So yes, I am different. Because the I am made me. I don't know about you. But I move in a different vibration. I move in the vibration of creation. Of the first man. Of Ada. Adu. Adam. Because I move with a purpose. Because I remember. I remember. The Creator chose to wake me up for a purpose. And I will not live out of that purpose any longer. I will walk in my vibration. Because I am around kings. The second reason was you are the crystal. I'm going to break something down to you. It's a substance out there called monatomic gold. This substance is what the ancient pharaohs used to build all their structures. This chemical of sorts has anti-gravitational properties. If you put this substance in a spoon and you weigh it, the spoon will weigh less than it did before you put the substance in it. And if you boil it, or if you heat it up to a certain temperature, if you move it to a certain sound, it becomes invisible. This is what the pharaohs used to move